Welcome back to another episode of the Experts in Fire podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vennard, and with me today is Randy Mowry. Today's episode is Fire Pit Materials, Part 2. Let's get into it. So, okay, we go Corten steel. Some people call it Core 10. We've called it so many things.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the other steels that can be used. I know we have stainless options, copper options. What do you think?
Yeah, so stainless would probably be next. It kind of flows in from the Core 10 steel. Stainless is another one that we do quite a bit of in the wood burning process. And then we also have, said stainless steel, 304 grade stainless steel for some of our gas fire pits. Typically like the square, our linear fire pit tables, things like that, with gas burners in them. It does take obviously a specific type of client that is looking for something maybe more on that shiny designer, because it's 304 stainless steel. It's bright and shiny. It is gonna bounce off the sun. It is gonna look cool out there. But just another material that is super durable, gonna last a test of time, and just looks really nice.
I agree. Stainless is that thing that it was hot for a while. It's not hot anymore when it comes to kitchens and things of that nature. When I say it's not hot, it's still standard.
Correct. Yeah. When you mention like kitchens and things like that, there's just so many options now. You can get your doors to match your island color-wise. You can get teak wood face doors with your stainless gas grill. Yeah, so there's different options there, right? Yeah, it may have slowed down, of course, but it's still definitely a pretty cool option for folks. If I had to guess, because I don't know without looking at stats, I would probably say we probably do more stainless and like the wood burning styles like you have versus some of our gas units, but we still have them and they still look cool.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk copper then.
Copper's a great material. Like the others, it's going to last forever. My personal fire pit is a peened copper gas fire pit. It sits out here in this weather that we have. Doesn't discolor, nothing's fading on it. I have a cover on it now, but and that's only because of the winter. Outside of that, the cover's never on in the spring and fall. I don't want it to keep messing with that part of it. But yeah, another great material. You can get it smooth. You can get it peened, or what they call hand hammered, like mine is. But another great material that we have round, square, linear. You can full custom. I've done custom versions for clients. Plenty of options in the copper as well.
And depending on where you're at in the country, and I know, we're here in Michigan. We literally wear shirts around that say salt-free, shark-free, because we have Great Lakes up here and they're all freshwater. So when Randy says, it doesn't change, depending on where you're at in the country, if you're out on the coast, then your copper will patina, it will green. If you, in copper goes through 3 phases, right? You got shiny penny, brand new penny just off the line, to that dark brown penny that's been around for a while, had oils on it and different things, to the green, that's been sitting in the driveway getting driven over, and look what I found, a penny. That's how copper exists. And you go up to the mines up in the UP of Michigan, you'll see a lot of copper in its natural habitat, and that green patina is there. So knowing that, check your area. If you're looking at if a client wants copper, you'll be able to check your area to see how copper's going to respond in your area. I know for us, I love the dark brown. When copper hits that deep brown color, that's like a good cigar for me, man. You're just like, yeah, that's the spot.
Yeah, it's nice. That's how mine is. It's that dark brown color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful when it finally finishes out like that. I was just going to say, we've been talking about all these metals, and with all these metals, as we touched on some of the GFRC, these are all fully customizable based off, whatever size, shape that somebody wants on site. Whether they need it smaller than one of the stock ones, taller, just bigger, shorter, whatever the size is, we can customize the metals. The metals are obviously going to be quite a bit easier to customize versus a GFRC where we got to build a custom mold.
You have fire-related questions, and we have answers. You can email us your questions at podcast@woodlanddirect.com or give us a call at 586-221-3638. We would love to be able to answer them right here on the Experts in Fire podcast. All right, Randy. So we've talked about metals. We've talked about GFRC, the different metals that are available. Let's talk about highest heat output. Some people look at the fire pit itself as the most important piece. It has to have the right design. It's pinged copper. It's a particular color. It's GFRC and has to have a certain ridge to it or edge to it or whatever. And then some people look at it and go, I want the fire pit to look nice, but I want flames that can be seen from space. Right?
Right.
If if we're talking about the material that you build this fire pit from, then we do need to discuss, if you're that person or your client is that person, that, man, I want this thing to have really big flames to it because I want to show it off. Accurate, that's good. You should want to show it off. What's going to have the highest heat output out of the materials we're discussing?
And this is a great question, Mike, because it's a very common question that comes through. And so your steel is going to be able to withstand the hottest burners. So we're talking like next level heat with the steel fire pits. When it comes to GFRC, they're great, and you'll notice when folks are shopping and it's online that there's a pretty common BTU there when it comes to these GFRC fire pits. The reason being is if you go beyond what those GFRC fire pits are tested at, you're really increasing the chances of splitting, cracking that material with that high heat burner by changing the burners out. You know, when they build those and they make these and they put a X burner in that fire pit, it's because they've tested it so that fire pit will last the test of time with that burner, with that BTU. So as you manipulate that part of it, that's where the damage could come into play. So it's always best when someone says, yeah, I want that big burner because I want huge flames. Right away, we are going to look at steel fire pits. I'm going to drive them into that direction, explain to them why. But that's the reason right there. Besides, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I mean, you could discolor your fire pit. So there's many different things could happen to the surface on that GFRC.
I'm just going to highlight this real fast. People, when they're considering what they want to see beautiful flames. Put into your consideration, folks, a glass guard, a wind guard. Because sometimes people think about it, now it's an added cost, I'm not sure I like it, and then that fire pit gets put in place. It's a big, beautiful flame, but I want to use it on nights when it's maybe got a little wind. And that flame will lap over onto the side, and it can discolor, but more importantly, it can lap over the side and maybe even touch somebody. So by putting glass guards in place, wind guards in place, you're protecting folks. You're also protecting your investment. Just throwing that out there for people to consider as they look at these types of things. So the heat output, Randy, metal's going to be the highest heat output. GFRC is pretty strong as well. So
yeah, we're not saying that it's going to break and fall apart with the burners that they come with. It just we have burners that for some of our site built style fire pits and things like that are going to push out 18, 24 inches of flame height. And that's kind of it's a good point that you brought up about the wind guards. I wasn't really thinking about that because when you do put a wind guard on it, which I'm even considering for my fire pit this year, that's also going to control some of that vertical flame and kind of give you more vertical flame because it's not subject to the wind and blowing around. So that's going to give you a better ambiance, better look, also keeping you with the safety and also helping take care of your fire pit, all the things that you mentioned.
So Randy, we've got heat output. We've kind of talked through, the differences of the materials themselves. We were discussing, and I saw you had even made a note about eco-friendly. What are you thinking there?
Kind of like we touched on with a fire pit that is maybe a lesser material that's only going to last a season or two, and then it's just going to be into the recycling and or into the landfill. These fire pits that we're talking about, we're talking like yours, for example, that thing's going to probably last 50 years plus. That's probably going to be something that your kids may even have. Same with the concrete. The concretes are, we're talking 10 plus years. And when you go past 10 years, that becomes, I believe and I could be wrong, somebody correct me and email us in, but I think after 10 years, it is classified as an eco-friendly product. as far as, with the environment, because we're not losing it in 1, 2, and 3 years and it ending up in a landfill or a recycling bin. So that's what I mean by the eco-friendly itself. And then we have some fire pits that are actually even used. There's a certain amount of recycled material that goes into the build of some fire pits that we offer. So, we're also helping in that aspect as well.
Absolutely. No, that's a very good point, Randy. You had mentioned weight here. I think we've been talking about weight as we go through the discussion. GFRC is going to be your heavier, and then be aware of the thickness of your steel. I will say, though, we've seen a turn probably in the last 2, maybe 3 years toward steels, especially powder-coated steel, because it ships better, ships easier. It arrives in a box that can be handled by the homeowner if the homeowner's taking the delivery, or by the contractor, the general, whoever, and it can be maneuvered, put in, even put into place with 2 people. So sometimes 1 person. So weight on the steel side, definitely something to consider. And we've seen a move in swimming pools have had a lot of concrete bowls put around them. But so what's interesting is we've seen this move from, hey, I don't want to have a crane or 5 guys carrying this concrete bowl to put it on its perch. And that's where we have seen a move to copper. And then it went from just copper to more of your powder coated steels to match trims or whatever around the yard.
Oh, absolutely.
So that it's easier and a single person or 2 people can actually put it in place, lock it down, and then do the install. So weight definitely favors the metal side. What about lead times, Randy? You're way more into lead times than I am right now. What are you looking at there?
Yeah, when it comes to lead times right now, it's at this point, like, it's pretty early in the season. Your GFRCs are going to take a little bit longer. At this time, they could be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. It might even be down right now, where like your powder coated steels, those are usually typically in that 3 to 4 week mark. And as the season gets into the season, as the weather gets warmer, the lead times will increase. They typically do. So we just always want to be conscious of that, especially our contractors that are building those pools, like you said. Sometimes you want to be on the front end of that, because if that pool's going to take 6 weeks, it might make sense to get those bowls on order now, even if they're going to sit on lot for a week before install, just to make sure that when you're off the job, everything's on site. And same with the homeowner. I have a great deal of homeowners because they want to choose their fire bowls while the pool installer is there or the landscape designer is there. That's a lot of what I've got going on right now, trying to get on the front end of trenching for gas lines and things like that, so that they can get these things on time.
I love it. I think we've talked a long time here, and I'm sure by the time people hear this, our producer Sam is going to have cut down all of our meandering. But this is a lot of good information. If you have more questions, if you're considering a fire pit, and you're thinking, I don't know what would be the best for me, give us a call. A guy like Randy or any of his cohorts over there on the sales side would love to chat with you, kind of talk through the differences, what your scenario is. The first question we're always going to ask is, tell me a little about your project. And we're going to try our best to find what's going to be best for you. I mean, we've had folks call in saying, hey, I want this 8-foot concrete fire pit, and they're walking through the whole thing. And you're like, well, that's going to kick out, 250,000 BTUs. Do you have the gas line for that? Oh man, let me talk to my gas guy. Okay. Do you have a way for this to get into your backyard? Because I'm thinking right now, you're probably going to need a crane to lift it over your house to get into it. What? A crane? So we have a lot of experience talking and working with folks and making sure that you're going to get what's right for you. If you're in the profession out there and you just need a little help saying, hey, help me understand this particular metal or what this GFRC does, or usually what we get a lot of questions about from our pros is, tell me about the BTUs and what kind of gas line am I going to need to supply, and if they want electronic ignition, what do I need for my power that's running out there? We can answer all those questions for you as well. So please give us a call. And if you have comments, questions, concerns about this podcast, you can look at us at any time and say, I call baloney, and we'd love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that would be fun. Not because we're combative, not at all. We just love learning. It's something that we've set our minds to here at Woodland Direct, and if you've got something you want to learn us on, we're more than willing to listen. So at this time, Randy, as usual, brother, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit here and do this with us, man. I really appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure. Appreciate you guys. Everyone have a great afternoon. Enjoy the day.
And we're out. Join us next time for an introduction to the Quadro Gas Fire Pit by Flamecraft. We'll see you then.